Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the heart of the American Southwest, trekking a journey to a geographical anomaly that is, honestly, as awe-inspiring as it is completely terrifying. We're looking at Shiprock, or as it's originally known, Tsé Bit'a'í. You know, this isn't just your standard geological feature. It's this remote, jagged, almost aggressive monument that just erupts straight out of the earth, and it demands this deep, instinctual reverence. By following a vlogger documenting his massive cross-country road trip, we get a completely first-hand look at what actually happens when human curiosity collides head-on with ancient, fiercely protected spaces. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for a literal descent into the unknown. 1. The Mountain of Missing People. 2. Inside the Navajo Nation. 3. The Rock with Wings. 4. Monsters, Myths, and Magnetism. And finally, 5. The eerie final steps. I want to drop you right in the thick of it from the get-go. Just listen to the vlogger's reaction as he first approaches the site. He says, "Oh, brother, this is crazy, bro. It's so remote, and the vastness of it is a bit disturbing." Right away, you can literally feel the stakes, can't you? He's navigating a place so desolate, so unbelievably vast, that the isolation actually feels like a physical weight. This is definitely not some crowded tourist trap. He's been driving for miles down this bumpy, deteriorating dirt road, totally alone, zero cell service, heading toward a monument that feels like it's actively trying to repel visitors. Section 1. The Mountain of Missing People. So, that extreme isolation we just talked about, it's not just some spooky feeling cooked up by an anxious mind. The emptiness of this landscape actually hides a pretty grim factual record. The number 2. That represents the confirmed factual disappearances right at the base of this rock in recent memory. Just 2 years ago, a young female photographer traveled right up to the base of this mountain and literally vanished without a trace. And before her, a man disappeared from that exact same spot about 6 or 7 years ago. The vlogger is heavily aware of these facts as he drives. He even points out that if something were to happen out here, if you were to disappear, nobody would even know. It sets this incredibly heavy, anxious tone before he even gets close to the rock. Section 2. Inside the Navajo Nation. Now, what's really fascinating here is understanding the unique sovereignty of the land surrounding this mountain. Geographically, sure, federal law says the vlogger is driving through New Mexico, but culturally, spiritually, and legally, he has crossed a major border into the Navajo Nation. We're talking about the largest and richest community of Native Americans in the U.S. It's this massive territory covering parts of Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. The vlogger emphasizes that he hasn't just crossed a state line. He's entered a sovereign nation with thousands of years of continuous, unbroken history. After being displaced during colonization, the Navajo people fought incredibly hard to secure recognition of their land and rights. So when you're here, you are very much a guest in their sovereign territory. And because of that sovereignty, federal laws totally take a backseat to some strict local rules, which are there to protect a deeply historic and fiercely guarded culture. For example, alcohol, completely banned on this land, regardless of what federal or state laws say right outside its borders. You absolutely need special permits just to enter certain areas or even fly a drone. The vlogger brings up just how culturally rich this nation is. I mean, their ancestral language was famously used by the U.S. as an unbreakable secret code during World War II. This is a land of immense pride, and they guard their sacred sites, like Shiprock, with incredible devotion. Section 3. The Rock with Wings. Let's look at how the tension builds as the landscape dramatically shifts. After miles of driving, the vlogger turns off Highway 491 onto the Red Rock Highway, and the main attraction finally just dominates the horizon, 1,500 feet. Just try to wrap your head around that. That is how high this jagged structure towers into the sky. And what makes it so imposing and honestly so unnatural looking is that it erupts out of a completely flat plain. The vlogger actually spots it from 40 kilometers away. As he gets closer, he describes this thin, fin-like rock formation stretching out from its side for maybe 8 to 10 kilometers. It looks almost like the spiked back of a dinosaur rising from the dust, and it is completely, utterly isolate. And this brings up the brilliant dichotomy of Shiprock. On one hand, scientifically, it's believed to be the neck of this massive volcanic eruption from millions of years ago. But on the other hand, you have the rich Native American folklore that gives the rock its true name, Tsé Bit'a'í, which translates to rock with wings. According to the ancient local belief, this mountain is actually a giant bird that carried the ancestors of the Native Americans from the north, flying over their enemies before finally resting here and turning to solid stone. Section 4. Monsters, Myths, and Magnetism. So here's where things get really wild. This is where ancient myths start overlapping with terrifying, real-world physical anomalies. The story goes from a fascinating cultural history to a deeply unsettling physical experience for anyone brave enough to visit. The vlogger unpacks what he calls a recipe for bad energy. According to local myth, monsters used to live at the top of this rock until a monster slayer defeated them. Another legend says the paths those monsters used to climb down were destroyed by incredibly violent lightning strikes. Well, get this, science actually backs up the lightning part. This area is known for extremely high gravity and magnetic anomalies, which act like a literal magnet for intense, sudden lightning strikes. This blending of extreme isolation, weird magnetic forces, and unpredictable, violent weather creates an environment that locals warn produces negative energy that is simply not good for human bodies. And that bad energy had a very real physical effect on the vlogger. I mean, despite the weather forecast calling for completely sunny skies both yesterday and tomorrow, he was suddenly hit by unexpected rain. More strangely, he notes, "My ears are popping, my hands are cold." His ears were popping like he was going through a rapid elevation change, even though he was driving on flat ground. His hands turned ice cold and a severe anxiety just washed over him. The scientific anomalies of this sacred site were actively triggering bizarre bodily reactions, basically screaming at his instincts to turn back. Section 5. The eerie final steps. Which brings us to the climax of the explainer. I want to put you directly in the vlogger's shoes right now. He's battled the anxiety, the strange physical sensations, the sheer isolation, and he finally reaches the end of the path. About a kilometer away from the towering rock itself, the desolate dirt road just ends. And right there, a stark boundary of dark black sand begins. Before coming out here, he had spoken to a local who gave him one very specific warning. Do not step into the black area. Stay away from it. Sitting in his car, staring at that dark boundary, he describes this fierce internal tug of war. His adventurous side is screaming at him to go forward, to cross the line for the footage. But that deep dread, the memory of those missing people, and the respect for the local warning completely anchor him to his seat. In fact, he sits there for 3 full hours, totally alone, wrestling with this mysterious energy. Finally, he decides to trust his intuition. He refuses to cross the black sand. So that leaves us with this final thought. The vlogger made his choice, right? He decided to respect the spiritual and cultural boundaries of a majestic sacred place rather than just conquer it for a thrill. But I've got to ask you, if you had driven miles and miles into the desert, completely alone, absolutely zero cell service, and you were standing at the edge of an ancient, terrifying anomaly with a history of dark myths and actual disappearances, where do you draw the line between your own adventurous curiosity and a deep instinctual respect for the unknown? Tell me, would you step on the black sand?